Well, hello and welcome to the Waking Up Spiritually podcast. I'm so thrilled to have you joining us for the first broadcast of 2023. I'm Wendy Rose Williams with my co-host Gregg Kirk, and we've got a special treat for you today. We have a wonderful guest, astrologer numerologist Debbie Buss is going to be joining us. So let me introduce myself first. I am a past life energy healer. I help people release energy that no longer serves you. Things like chronic pain, anxiety, depression, stuck creativity. My website is wendyrosewilliams.com, and you're so welcome to go to it and request a complimentary 15-minute phone consult with me to see how I might be of service to you. And so thrilled again to have Debbie and Gregg joining us. WakingUpSpiritually.com is where you can find the archives of all our programs, and you can go there and see them. So I'm going to turn it over to Gregg, and Gregg is going to do a little bit more introducing. And I just want to say Debbie is a fantastic friend, as well as wonderful astrologer and numerologist that I've had the pleasure of knowing and using in wonderful ways over the years. It's amazing what she can do and tell us, and we'll get into some of that today. So over to you, Gregg.
Hi, everyone. Happy 2023, our first episode of the year. I'm Gregg Kirk. I am an energy worker who works both in person and remotely. You can come check out what I do at greggkirk.com. That's spelled GREGGKIRK.com. One of the things I do is I run an online group healing circle every Sunday afternoon, East Coast time. I also do monthly in-person group healing circles. Lately, we've been doing them in a salt cave in Connecticut, which is really fantastic. And then when the weather gets warmer, we do on group fire circles where we have a fire and we've got a sacred place outside that is just phenomenal. So if you've got any stuck energy, feel like things aren't going your way, that you're personally stuck in your spiritual growth, please contact me at greggkirk.com. So I'd just like to let everybody know before I hand things over to Debbie that last year we interviewed Debbie. And Wendy and I, up to this point, had kind of had a decision we had made that, okay, we're not going to have any guests. We're just going to carry the load ourselves. And we did quite well for more than 2 years. And I thought we would only have enough subject ideas for about a couple of weeks. But we
surprise, Gregg.
Exactly. We have a lot to talk about, as you will see if you go to wakingupspiritually.com and hit on broadcast. We've done more than 50 episodes, and we've reached, we just got our pod, and we started broadcasting these on the podcast apps about a year into it as well. So we just got an update from our podcast provider that we're being broadcast in 26 countries. So it's just fantastic. So anyway, last year we interviewed Debbie, Wendy and I did, and it was one of our most viewed episodes. A lot of people really enjoyed it. So this year, Wendy and I thought, well, let's have Wendy on herself. Let everybody see what she looks like. By the way, she's joining us from the United Kingdom. So this is just a cool thing with technology and everything that we're doing a live simulcast, as they used to say in the old days. Anyway, Wendy, I would like to hand it over to you. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for kicking everything off with us. I believe Wendy and I will probably have some more guests in the future. We look forward to that. And please give us your feedback about this episode. We are on YouTube, so you can give feedback there. You can go to our website and give us feedback. And we are also on Facebook. So check all that out. So Debbie, please take it from here.
No pressure. Thank you both for inviting me on today and talking all things numerology and astrology, which is something that I'm so passionate about and I love. And as Gregg said, yes, I'm in the UK. It's now sort of getting dark and cold, and it's been snowing today, so it's that true wintry January weather we're all experiencing. So when Gregg and Wendy invited me to talk about the astrology and numerology of 2023, I felt it was important to share with them that I am a true-sidereal astrologist, which is very different to a your tropical, or you would call your current, your normal sort of astrologer. I've trained in tropical for over 25 years, and I worked professionally with it for many, many years. But last year, I started to kind of delve into more of the kind of the true ancient style of astronomy and astrology. And what people don't really know is that the ancient Egyptians sort of started it as, even before that, the Babylonians, of sort of true sidereal, where they actually look to the visible sky, where the planets are now, what signs are they in, and we call them as the constellations. And the difference basically is with tropical and true sidereal is purely that true sidereal is this real sky, the visible sky, and tropical works on the equinoxes, and it also works on where signs are kind of every 30 degrees. So at the moment, the sun is still in the constellation of Sagittarius. We haven't even gone into Capricorn yet. So this is where I find the sidereal side of it is more of a soul level. The readings that I'm doing are taking people more to a deeper soul level. This is where, people might think, oh, well, I'm born under the sign of Leo. Well, actually, you might have been born under the sign of Cancer, or, a Virgo, and all these different things. And it realizes, and it kind of shows people how they can be attached to their signs, which is actually quite funny. Some, especially when you tell a Leo they're no longer a Leo, that doesn't always go to plan.
Get some roaring as a result of that.
Oh my gosh, so goodness. I've had some people that go, no, that's wrong, you're wrong, I am definitely a Leo. So it is quite amusing when you see how many people are so attached to their signs. But the beauty of true sidereal is looking up and kind of going, well, if as an astrologer, I use telescope or whatever software I'm using, I have to know where the planets are. And if you use any kind of software, planetary software, it will tell you where the planets are based. And it could be a difference of sort of 24 degrees. It's usually a sign difference. And this is based on what's called the precession of the equinox, where the sun moves a degree every 72 years. So it kind of changes things, and it makes it kind of more sort of real, which is, to me, as a Sagittarius, we are that truth seeker. We want to kind of go, we want to follow where everything is. So I thought I'd do a little bit of some slides for you just to kind of look at pretty much what's coming ahead for 2023. 2023 is a very different year and energy from 2022. I feel 2022, we're sort of playing catch up really from the previous years and the dreaded C word, which seems so far away and long ago. But yeah, it's an energy of kind of, well, it's the spiritual seeker, the number 7. If we break down the 2023 it actually adds up to a number 7, and it is that sort of spiritual and truth seeker that is looking for this new way of doing things and being who they are, being that individual, and sort of really passionate about kind of what they want to do. And I feel COVID showed so much to us that life can change so quickly. When we start to plan so many things, it can kind of change like that. I mean, we've proven proof this today. This was meant to be 2 weeks ago, and things happen. But it's the beauty of being able to adapt to change gracefully and trust that everything and life is working for you, not to you. And I think this is the whole 2023 is going to change that for us. So if you pop it, the slides across for me, Gregg, this is just something just to say, true sidereal is the ancients' accuracy. It's the difference between tropical and true sidereal is the size of the constellations. Tropical usually uses 30 degrees, whereas true sidereal is actually based on the size of the constellations. And we can go from the smallest size of Scorpio to one of the largest size is Virgo, which is over 47 degrees. So that then changes how often presently the moon, but also other planets stay in that constellation. Whereas we're so used to them being in kind of, say for instance, Jupiter now, it could be in a sign for like 12 months. But actually, if it's under true sidereal, it will take longer than 12 months. When we look at the moon travels through a sign every 2.5 days. If it's in the sign of Virgo, it can be 3 or 4 days. So it depends on kind of what constellation it is and how long it takes then for that planet then to kind of walk through. As I also work with true sidereal, I also work with the 13th zodiac, Ophiuchus, which is the sign that is actually based between the constellation of Scorpio and Sagittarius. And as the planets go through this ecliptic, they actually go through Ophiuchus. So it is a zodiac. And it was also linked to Imhotep, the god of medicine, the Egyptian god of medicine and healing. So Ophiuchus is very much about healing, and the moon is actually currently in that sign today. So I don't know if anybody have been experienced that healing. I definitely felt it for me today, almost kind of just wanting to kind of just rest and not do anything, and certain plans had been sort of rearranged, and not to be upset when plans are rearranged. It's just to kind of go with it and just go, okay, well, it wasn't meant to be today. You know, there's always days that we can reschedule. And I think working with this true sidereal, it does show us that life is always going on and it doesn't matter whatever is going on the outside. If you can kind of come from that place of that, okay, everything is working for me. It's okay. And the song that my grandmother used to sing to me is everything's going to be okay. And this is what I say to myself every day. And so, yeah, so that is kind of pretty much what true sidereal is. It is that sort of, so how do you two feel? Do you feel that it's kind of different, or you kind of?
I think what you said, Debbie, is profound regarding the choice. I think the biggest choice we can make in life is whether the universe has my back and things are always working for me, or whether things are happening to me, which is us being in that victim place. And I think the more gracious we can be, and the more we can try and hold on to our sense of humor and our flexibility with realizing our planning often just doesn't come to a hill of beans. And we have to not be overly attached to things. As you said, the Leo wanting to be a Leo, the Cancer wanting to be a Cancer, whatever it might be. And just, I think you're really hitting on the point of go with the flow of the energy. Just be open and pay attention. Where is the good, positive energy coming up? Or is this just, as you said, a day to really lay low and rest and just kind of know that that's what's meant to happen too? And the less we fight with the reality of what's going on versus what we wrote out as our to-do list. I'm so guilty of that.
Yeah,
for
me
that
too.
day. Just have to let it go, let it flow, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Agreed. Yeah, there's a lot of Wendy and I did an episode a couple of years ago called spiritual refocusing, and I'm noticing a bit of that going on now, where you set your intentions. I work with patients on a manifestation meditation, and we set those out there, and then at the end of it I say, okay, now for this to come to you, you have to be of the mindset and the emotions that we use to create this intention. So just realize that, and it's not time to keep score. Like, start monitoring. Oh, did it happen today? Did it happen now? Am I there yet? That kind of junk. And then when something happens that looks like the opposite of the manifestation, it's just to sit with it, because usually on the other side of it is this very big surprise of, oh, this was the manifestation, but it's much bigger and better than I was even imagining. So that I'm seeing a lot of that already this year. So
yeah, absolutely. And I'm a big kind of believer of working with the moon. I work with the moon probably so much more than I do the other planets, because it changes so quickly. And as I say, 2.5 days it usually takes to move through the signs, and it can take between 28 to 30 days. But even more so much the signs, also the phases of the moon, and it does kind of affect us so deeply, for us kind of personally, also in relationships and business, because the moon is our emotions. It's our kind of, we work through them. And, especially when they're in sort of water signs, like you've got the Scorpio, Cancer, and Pisces, it is a time of slowing down. It is a time of reflection and kind of working with those energies. And then when you have the fire signs of Sagittarius, Leo, and Aries, then it's time to kind of take action. They are the ones that they want you to kind of do those things. You have more energy to do more, more things. And then when you have kind of like the earth energies, like the Virgo, Capricorn, and Taurus, again, it's that sort of slowing down. It's that, that saying, what is it? Every slow wins the race. The slow, that kind of thing.
Slow and steady wins the race.
That's the one. Yes. And it's so true that, and that is kind of, it's that yin and yang, and kind of like slow, fast, pretty much kind of like with numerology and the energies of those, the numbers that we work with. So it is sort of important that, and you get to be in flow with energy. And I think 2023 is going to be showing a lot more of that energy of being present, of being in nature as much as we can, of being outside, fresh air. We're so lucky to have this opportunity, just to go outside and, breathe fresh air if you can, even if you live somewhere where you don't have access to kind of parks or anything like that. You can still get outside and just go for a walk. And I think it's so important to start kind of, we've become so overwhelmed of doing. We've become a nation of doing. And like COVID showed us that we had to stop. We had to basically reset and sort of stop. And this is what 2023 is showing us. It's about getting in touch with more our spiritual side, of doing things that we actually love doing. And if you don't love to do them, then why are you doing them? It's as simple as that. We all have freedom of choice. And if we don't want to do something, and you're inspired to do something else, well, then do it. Go for it. And I think this is what I love about this energy that's coming in this year. If you want to kind of just move the sides, this is a quote that I kind of pretty much live by. It's by the Joshua group, and it's basically, you came into this planet known as planet Earth for an experience. We call it the school of life, planet Earth. You came to forget who you truly are. You came to interact with the physical environment. This allowed you an abundance of experiences. And this is what I feel 2023 is all about, going into those experiences. But if, like you say, Gregg, don't go with them with an attachment aside to them or an agenda. If you just set that intention, today I'm going to have a really good day. And it doesn't matter if the day turns not as planned, you've set that intention to have a really good day. And when everything is working for you, there's always a lesson in that day. And I think this is this kind of, we've come to planet Earth for an experience, whether that's a good or bad, but we have come for an experience. And prior to your birth, you set intentions to express your love, to experience freedom and abundance, to expand through every experience, setting yourself on a path to rediscover who you are. And this is important, rediscover who you are. This is the theme for 2023, is to rediscover who you are, to awaken to the truth of who you are love. And if we can come from that place of everything that I do comes from that place of love, what would love do? How do I feel every day? And even if you feel not inspired or you feel nervous or anxious, just sit with that breath. Just take your time. We've become such a go, you know, we look at our phones, we're constantly on our phones. We have all these apps. We've become a nation that's so overwhelmed with technology. And we actually forget to work with the cycles and the nature and the seasons and the phases of the moon. And if we can bring even just one little thing back into that daily part of our life, then, you know, who knows, magic is always going to happen. It's there if you see it. So there's some dates if you want to just check. I think I've got what we got. Yeah. So it's the year of the spiritual seeker. So what does that mean? What is well, the number 7 is a highly intuitive number. It's the number, if you look at the way the number 7 is written, it's always pointing kind of maybe one way, but actually it's pointing to your higher self. It's literally going upwards. And 7 energy is fast. It's being able to adapt to change quickly. It's to be that sort of on your feet thinker. Whereas 2022 is the energy of the 6, which is slow, putting everything in place. As I said, we were still playing catch up from the previous 2020 and 21. 2023 is that energy of now doing things that we can enjoy doing. If you have a passion that you want to do something, like myself, towards the end of last year, I enrolled in a university course. I would never have thought at the end of 2022, I would be going to big school, to university. It was not on my plan. It was not on my agenda at the start of 2022, I believe me. But I felt inspired and I had this inspiration to do something for me, not to prove or to do anything for anybody else. It was purely for me. And I literally applied that day, there and then, and I got in. And to the astonishment of my family and friends who were like, really? Yes, I'm going to school. And I absolutely love it. I don't look at kind of how long I'm going to be there because I don't know how long I'm going to be there. The course is for 4 years. But if life has shown me anything, it can change. At the moment, I'm studying Egyptology. That might change, but I'm open to that. Whereas before I had everything so planned. Everything would be, I had to do this by a certain time. I had to make sure I did things by a certain time. Like Wendy, I jot everything down. And my life became that I was controlling pretty much every aspect of my life. And I think when you try to control every aspect of your life, you're going to have a big wake-up call because life is going to come under and take that rug from under you. And so for me, I have to start things with, okay, what's going to happen today? I set that intention. I set those intentions every morning. Today, I'm going to have a really, really good day. And just go with it. And this is pretty much what 2023 is all about, is to go with the flow and trust. And if you get that inspiration to do something that to other people might seem crazy, or are you really going to do that? Just do it. Step out of that kind of comfort zone and pretty much go with it. So have you both sort of felt that lately, kind of stepping out the comfort zone?
Absolutely. And Wayne Dyer, the well-known spiritual teacher, I love his expression, your opinion of me is none of my business.
Yes, absolutely.
And I think us just being able to have the self-confidence and the self-respect that we might be doing some things that look very wacky, very unexpected. And maybe that's exactly what you're meant to be doing. Like you suddenly enrolling in a 4-year university, Debbie, and having the wisdom to know you don't know where and when that's going to take you. And it's interesting, your morning ritual of just waking up and just saying today's going to be a fantastic day. I have the same exact ritual. And I think you do too, Gregg. And I truly, I don't know what's on the calendar. I'm not even awake yet. I just literally, as I sit up in the morning on the side of the bed, that's the first thing I say. And it's really easy for me to do because I get this joyful wake up call most mornings called my dog Henley. And she's still a puppy. So she comes rushing in at 7 a.m. and licks my face and is like so excited for the day. So how can you not go, oh, it's going to be a fantastic day? So I wish that for everyone, that you'd be able to feel that and look for that energy in yourself. And as Debbie said, if you're not doing the things that bring you that sort of joy and anticipation, how can you start to rearrange your life and live differently to be able to feel that? I think that is the year of the spiritual seeker.
Yeah. Absolutely. And there was a time where the first thing I would be looking at was on my phone. I would wake up, I would have my phone, I would be checking my emails, and then I would be checking, social media. And it really kind of unsettled me rather than actually enjoying it. It would always kind of have this fear of dread. What am I going to see in my emails today? What is almost this anticipation of dread. Whereas now I don't even look at my phone in the morning. I have a clock that wakes me up with music and the radio. And then I started this year kind of looking at a poetry book. I have a poetry book by the side of my bed, and I just literally go, okay, what do I need to know today? And I will just go to that page that I'm inspired to go to, and I'll read from that piece of, whatever it is. It could be a song, it could be anything that I'll hear on the radio. But to me, they're all those little intuitions that we're being guided to do. Anything that we can use can be intuition. Something that we can kind of pick up a book, just hold it and kind of go, okay, what do I need to know today? And turn to that page, just that one word, a sentence, anything. And the more I start to do that, and I've really kind of made that a conscious need for me in the morning. Even though I set my intentions to have a really good day, I needed that little bit of extra as well. And it has helped so much, even just that one word. And I'm all about kind of what does the meaning of the word. I'm a true kind of wordy geek, I suppose. I love the etymology of a word. What does that word mean? Vibration, where did it come from? And it really helps. It helps me. So I would give it a go, or try, anybody that's watching, just to try it, just to see, it could be any book, and and see what it uncovers for you for the day. On the next slide, I've got kind of like a breakdown of kind of the number 7. Like I said, it's all about wisdom, trust. And even though 7 is energy, it's fast, it's quick, it's adaptable to change, it's also very introspective. It's also about taking that part of that sort of breath. And I think when you are more sort of rested within yourself, and you're not constantly working on that kind of fear and anxiety and go, you do have the power to sort of think quickly, to make those decisions, because you're not coming from a place of fear. You're coming from a place of, okay, what is my intuition showing me? What is it telling me? What am I seeing around there? And 7 energy, even though it is all about sort of trust and wisdom, there is also an energy of slowing down, focusing on spiritual awakening, that psychic development, being sort of taking that breath, introspective of kind of what is going on outside. It doesn't matter if there is chaos and whatever, but if you're sort of centered and you come from the place of, I take this breath, I trust that life is working for me, and then whatever happens. But yeah, it does kind of work if you come from that. And if you go into the next slide, Gregg. Yeah. So this is what we can expect for 2023. It is at that time of expect the unexpected. There's meditation, rejuvenation, healing, new connections, books, if you like to book, if you like to read. I don't know about you, but I love the feel of a book. Yes, I have a Kindle, and yes, I can read sort of, but for me, it's the smell of the book, the feel of the book. I like that sort of feeling, and I almost feel that I transport myself into that book. It's also 2023 is a perfect time if you are thinking of doing any spiritual retreats, or if you are planning on going on any spiritual retreats. It's definitely a year of the healer. So if there's something that you've always wanted to do, if you work in corporate or you work in a busy day and you've always wanted to learn energy healing, or if you wanted to have sort of like a past life regression, I highly recommend Wendy. When I had my session with Wendy, it was mind-blowing. So it's about trying these new experiences, and you never know where these experiences are going to take you. It's also the perfect year to study. If there's something that you've always wanted to do, like me, I've always wanted to go to university, but I never had the opportunity to go. So at the age of 47, I thought, you know what, I'm going. And it doesn't show that you have to put a time limit on what you're doing. And you can go and study and do whatever you want at any age. I know there's an 80-year-old who's on our campus, and he is, thriving. He's loving. And I think when you study and you read and you're more curious about life, your mind then feels younger, or you become younger, and we're moving into sort of technology is coming so fast, and it will be coming faster as we approach over the years. But there is still that, pleasure in going somewhere and just reading a book, or just doing some journaling on a book, and taking time for yourself. So do you have any? Also, I would also recommend is choosing a word for the year. My word for 2023 is accomplish. And it's about, I can accomplish anything that I want to put my mind to, what I'm inspired to do. So I would encourage you to choose a year, a word for the year, and kind of how does that make you feel? And also a song. Song for me is Everything Is Going to Be Okay. Everything is going to be all right. That Bob Marley song, The Three Little Birds. And every time I listen to that song, I'm transported to my grandmother singing it to me. And I know that everything is going to be okay. It's going to be all right. So I would encourage you to kind of have a look at, a book or whatever. Does a sentence spring out to you? It doesn't have to be a word. It can be a sentence. And go for it. Okay.
That's a great exercise, Debbie, to choose your word for the year. Mine that came up for me was freedom, because I'm making a lot of big changes, and I realize they can all be summarized by the word freedom.
Yeah, I love that.
So, how about you, Gregg?
Change. Yep.
Yeah.
Change. Time to change your shirt. Time to change your pants. Time to change.
And I think for me last year, it was pretty much like simplicity. I wanted my life to be more simple. And it was a case of starting the year of having a massive declutter in the home. I had so much things that I would clutter. I am a little bit of a self-hoarder. So especially, we all have one of these drawers where we kind of like chuck stuff in. Well, I had too many. And it was a case of, okay, it's time to simplify my life. And it would be kind of a case of getting rid of old paperwork or things. And I sort of donated lots of books and clothes to charity, or just did kind of like a sharing experience and just say, okay, do you want some books to people and friends? So, and it did help. Whereas today, 2023 for me is accomplish. I've shown that I can accomplish anything that I set my mind to, and let's see what happens. I'll tell you in 2024 if it would work for me. Okay, so let's move on to some, and this is another one quote that I live by. Knowing how to share our gifts with the world is recognizing what gifts to share. We're all born with unique gifts, and I feel sometimes there's so much pressure on our life purpose. What is my life purpose? I know I've spent many monies on courses telling me that they're going to promise to tell me what my life purpose is, and your life purpose can be anything that you feel you want it to be. It doesn't have to be a set. You know, if your life purpose is just to be a mother, then that is the biggest life purpose and gift that anyone can be. It doesn't have to be something that we class as, my life purpose is to be, I don't know, a solicitor. Okay, if that's your life purpose, then that's your life purpose. But how do you work with that energy? How do you work with that? Do you come from a place of good? Are you a humanitarian solicitor? You know, there's all these different aspects. And I feel that we've come where it had to be a niche. We have to put a name to it. And for me, I'm a lifelong learner. And whether that is through studying or whether through work or whatever, it doesn't matter. And I also kind of help people when I look at their astrology charts, and it's usually they'll come to me for relationships, what's going on with my relationship, or what is my next job? Where am I going to be doing? What am I going to be doing? And I always say to them, you know, you have the unique gift to do that, something that is truly unique to you. Whatever that is dependent on the chart. And you were born, we each choose our birth date, we each choose our birth time, we choose our place where we want to be, and that is our experience. And I'm a true believer in that. So yeah, how we share our gifts is recognizing what gifts to share, and we each have many. It's not limited just to one. So let's get on to some dates. I think the next slide is some dates. Yay.
Just a quick comment on that, Debbie.
Yeah.
I think you're touching back on, we can have an over-identification with what our quote occupational title is,
Yes.
which takes us straight back into that doing versus being. And
Absolutely.
I think you were touching on us getting comfortable with being.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that we've come from I think it has changed since COVID, but being in kind of, I've worked in corporate, I've run my own businesses in the past, I've worked for other people. And when I was doing my coaching, it came to where I was so fixed on what type of coach I was going to be, or, you know, that specialized in, and I feel that I was putting so much pressure on myself that it had to be a perfect way. It would take me ages to do a website because I didn't know what to put my title name down. And I think sometimes we can get so much stuck in that, and that there's so much pressure, especially coming from business side and the self-development era, which is very much about focusing on a niche. But if you're inspired to do coaching, it doesn't matter which field that you go into, because you never know what's going to come through that door. You don't know what that client is going to ask for you. And with yourself, Wendy, with the work that you do, it's so beautiful, because you don't know where that past life regression is going to take somebody. You don't know which area and how much it means to that person once they really discover, this makes sense. This makes sense why I've always loved certain things that I do. When you did mine, it was all about the healer, the Chiron, the energy, and it made perfect sense why, as an astrologer, I love working with Chiron. But having that explained to me in a reading, it just made sense. And so this is this kind of, we don't have to be stuck to a certain way of doing things. It's about going with that flow and whatever you're guided to do. And I mean, I've taken classes, I've taken so many different classes, but there was always, to me, there was always not so much an agenda, but there's always that something at the back of my mind, why I was doing that class. if I studied, this was going to take me to that job, which was then going to take me to that amount of money. Whereas now I've enrolled in a four-year degree. I'm not even looking at far ahead as 4 years. I don't know what doors are going to open to me. You know, it could all change. So, and I have to be comfortable with doing that. And it's not easy. It's taken, believe me, it's taken time. It's taken many, many years of just trusting. And I think I've just come to a place where I'm very comfortable with myself. And yeah, and when things do come up for me, any sort of small triggers, I just look at them and how I react to them. Yeah, it can still take me back down to that place of kind of victim and being, you know, everything is working against me. Whereas actually when I take a breath and kind of go, okay, right, this is happening. It's happening because it's bringing up something that I've pushed away. I've pushed away and it now needs to be looked at, addressed. And once you switch on that observer and you understand where these little triggers are coming from, because nobody can create in your reality and you can't create in their reality. So everything that is happening for you is actually happening for you. And it's allowing you to look deep within these parts with you and kind of go, okay, this is coming up for me. I had an incident last week that led me in floods of tears. But once I actually sat down and kind of go, oh, why was I getting so upset about that? Because it triggered a part with me that happened when I was a small child. And once I kind of addressed that, and I thought, oh, okay, I understand now where those emotions are coming from. Thank you. Thank you to the person that delivered that message. Thank you to that situation that happened. And thank you. So yeah, if we can kind of come from that place, then you'll also find, especially sort of with these planetary transits that are happening pretty much this year, you'll understand why you are kind of moving into that space. So if we look at the big one that would pretty much affect us all personally and collectively is Saturn. Saturn moves into Aquarius. At the moment, people are saying that Saturn is already in Aquarius and is moving into Pisces. No, Saturn is still in the constellation of Capricorn, and it's been there since 2020. And if you look what happened in 2020, the big C, COVID, then you will understand why we've had these restrictions. Saturn is a planet all about timing. It takes 28 to 30 years for it to come all the way around your natal birth chart to the time and place of where you were born. And as it's in the sign of Capricorn, Capricorn is all about foundations, politics, money, business, organizations, structure. If we look at what's been happening the last couple of years, it's pretty much been about politics, business, organizations, structures. Everything had to almost crumble in order to make way to something new. And Capricorn energy, it's Earth, it's usually that energy of the entrepreneur. So it's very much linked to ambition and doing things in a forward momentum. When it moves into Aquarius, and we will start to feel this energy now, Aquarius energy is all about the visionary. It's that humanitarian energy. It thinks bigger. It wants to expand. It wants to look into the future. Aquarius rules technology. It rules the internet. It rules astrology. It rules divination. It also rules the circulatory system in our bodies. Now, Capricorn energy, whereas Saturn has been since 2020, rules the bones, the skin, the teeth. Now, there's been a lot of problems lately with people suffering with their bones and their joints. And I've seen a lot of people come to me with problems with, I'm also a medical astrologer. So a lot of people will come to me saying, oh, yes, my joints. I can always tell when the moon is in Capricorn, it plays havoc with my knees and my joints. And I feel that I kind of like, oh, I'm aging. So when we kind of look at these energies of what's going on, Saturn and Jupiter, they're the two that I would always look at in a chart if I was doing a business chart, because they affect us globally. And these are the planets that pretty much what we would say are faster planets. They're not as fast as Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto that can take anything up to 14 years in one sign, whereas Jupiter and Saturn can take between a year to 2.5 years. So we would class them as faster planets. So they also affect us more globally and personally. When we also look at Saturn, we always look at that Saturn return. So if anybody's familiar with that sort of dreadful Saturn return everybody sort of talks about. I always say, make peace with Saturn. Whenever I do a reading with somebody, I always say to them, Saturn gets such a bad rap. If you make peace with Saturn and you do what you promised before in this lifetime, what you promised to do in this lifetime, and you make peace with that, then you tend to have an easier ride. And Saturn is all about these big life changes. When we have that first transit, usually between the ages of 28 and 30, you usually have major life changing experiences, whether that's birth of a child or getting married or moving home or new jobs, careers, a death in the family, divorce, these major life-changing experiences that we all affect us, and they affect us globally, collectively, and individually and personally. So always pay attention to where Saturn is and what sign it's in your natal chart. And as it moves into Aquarius, we're going to see a lot more restrictions in technology. Saturn is also the planet of restriction, and it's timing. So as Aquarius rules technology, and we're moving into an age where it's fast paced, everything is on your phone. I don't know if you've started to experience it or feel it, but I'm having so many problems with my technology, especially my laptop, my Wi-Fi, even down to kind of things that are going on with my phone. And we will put it down to kind of Mercury because it's been in retrograde lately. But you pay attention to kind of what's going to be happening as it moves into Aquarius within this energy within the next couple of weeks. And it's going to stay there for 2.5 years. But on the next breath of that, we see this energy of new development, new technology. Where can this technology lead us? And as it's in Aquarius, it's all about humanitarian energy. Where can you work with groups? Where can we, I think we've become so disavoidance of trying to kind of do things as a community. We've kind of all separated into doing things in our own home. Technology has made it very easy to work on Zoom instead of actually going to a place of work. And I said, I think I was on a call just before COVID hit in 2019. And I said 2020 was going to be a year of restrictions of work, of going to a place of work. Nobody kind of knew. We knew something was going to happen in 2020, but nobody realized it was going to be a global pandemic. And I think this is pretty much what it is now as we move into this Aquarius energy is let's get back to community. Let's get back to working together as you'll probably see more membership groups sort of forming, collective energy of being in partnership with each other. Aquarius energy likes to work as groups, like to be a part of the groups. This is why I feel these spiritual retreats are going to be more, you'll see a lot more of those popping up, where people wanting to get together. And I think when you put human beings, we need to have that attachment. We need to be in relationships with people. I feel sometimes we've been so much pushed away, and that can be from personal choice, but also it can be that we've had to have restriction of being together and to working with people. I don't know how you both have kind of experienced that with kind of work. I mean, technology is amazing that I can run my business from my home and speak to you guys in the US. So that is so powerful. But I think there's also something really powerful of actually working in close continuity. How do you see that?
Yeah, I'm noticing that. So I run some groups, so I do the energy healing, but I also run some groups like a fire circle, and it's very cold where I am on the eastern United States now. So we usually do our fire circles up to about December, and then it just gets too cold. Plus we like to be barefoot. We like to have our feet on the ground, and now. So we've been doing them in a salt cave right down the road. And the salt cave is a phenomenal place to do it. The floor of the cave is salt, but it feels like sand. So it's like you're on a sandy beach. More and more people are coming to these things. People, coming out of the woodwork, just saying, I'm tired of being at home. And it's funny, everything you're saying about this year is starting to happen already. People are looking for, I'm getting a lot more people coming to me saying, I'm looking for a shamanic journey. I'm looking to do things. It's outside of my job. I want to come into who I am spiritually. I do some training as well to help people learn how to be a healer and all that kind of stuff, spiritual guidance. And more people just in the past, 3 weeks have come out. So it's a combination of this fellowship thing, but it's people are wanting to get together. Literally the people who we're getting together with, like at these fire circles. Well, we started doing this where we meet, we do the fire circle thing, or we do the salt cave thing. But then everybody says, let's go hang out now. So we go to, whatever restaurant or somebody's house. And then as people are talking, they're saying, the stuff that we're talking about, I can't talk about with my friends, the supernatural experiences I'm having, that kind of stuff. And this fellowship that we're having right now is so important to me. So, hey, that was great what we just did at the fire circle or the salt cave, but this is just as important to me. So the fellowship thing is really kind of blossoming right now.
People need the experience and the fellowship. And I definitely have so many clients, colleagues, acquaintances who are just craving like-minded friends. I mean, You're both just hitting the nail on the head. And that's part of why Gregg and I started the Facebook Waking Up Spiritually group. So you're so welcome to join us there. And that's where we podcast live from. So just look for Waking Up Spiritually on Facebook. And certainly there's other groups, we're happy to share too. Because yes, when we're going through those rapid changes, and Gregg and I have done a couple podcasts on this topic because it's so important, but when you go through a big spiritual awakening, you can just feel like you can't keep your feet on the ground because life is changing so hard and so fast that you don't know what's happening and you need some support. So it's a great time to work with a healer. It's a great time to do a session. It's a great time to get those like-minded friends, just like you said, Gregg, where people can share those supernatural experiences and not feel judged, not feel criticized, and just to be able to be vulnerable and to really have that dialogue of, I don't understand what's happening necessarily. So wanting to get some perspective from others and then being able to translate it and go within to find your own truth. But it does help to start within, go externally, and go within again. It's just that natural process we go through.
Absolutely. And that is pretty much about that energy of this year. There will be so many people waking spiritually and wanting to find, okay, where do I go for advice? Where do I go for guidance? Because it can be so scary. Like you say, everything can be happening and you don't know what is happening. Why am I drawn to certain groups? Why am I feeling this way? Why are friends that I have had for so long, I no longer have sort of relatability to them? Why am I being drawn to discover new things? And this is so powerful this year, is that you will be moving into these different areas that you're inspired to, having those people like yourself, like both of you, being there, holding those hands and just being that safe space for people, because it can become so scary and frightened. And there's so much misinformation out there. Having people that have really got your back, kind of know what you've gone through, what you've been through, it's vital, and it's so important. And like, as I said, the other planets, like we've got Uranus, that's still in Aries. If we look at tropical, people would say it's in Taurus. It's not. It's in Aries. Neptune is in Aquarius. So again, there's lots of kind of innovation of things happening. And Neptune is our planet of our dreams. It's our spiritual, psychic self. It can also be a planet of what we think is true, but actually it's that veil. What is happening? It can be that cloud. I feel it's true, but there's something that's, it's visual. It's not, it's an illusion. So we always call it Neptune is that planet of illusion, and it's still in Aquarius, and Pluto is still in Sagittarius. And the last couple of days, I don't know if you've both experienced this, but Pluto has been sitting right next to the sun, so close. They're sitting so close to each other. And because they're both in Sagittarius, there's this energy of almost starting to unpeel those layers. And I don't know if you've both experienced that, but my dreams have been completely off the chart. And also looking at things that I no longer wanted to do, or things that I felt inspired to do maybe 6 months ago. I don't feel inspired to do them anymore. And that's okay. I think sometimes we become so, well, I've made this commitment and I have to stick to it. And I think sometimes we stick to these commitments for so much more longer than we need to. And that could be out of to another person, to a family member, or anything like that. But this is what I'm feeling, and what I'm experiencing, and what I'm seeing on social media and everywhere, is that I'm feeling a bit off. I don't know what's going on. I'm like, I know what's going on. Pluto's coming in, and Pluto is it's the dwarf planet of death, rebirth, transformation. It's also the planet of control. And it's, if you look at kind of Pluto, who do you control and who has control over you? And we always look at that aspect in a chart as well. It's that matriarch energy, I feel Pluto is. But yeah, it's definitely these last kind of couple of days I've experienced of, I no longer want to do something that I thought I had so much passion in doing. And I'm okay with that as well. So yeah, so if we move across, we've got, what have we got next?
Debbie, one question on the last slide. What are the implications of, Gregg, could you go back just for a sec?
Yep.
What are the implications of Jupiter moving into Aries on May 26th?
Sorry, yes. Thank you. Okay, so Jupiter is that planet of wealth, it's expansion. We always think of Jupiter as that big Father Christmas energy. It's joyous. It wants to kind of bring fun. Like I said, when I look at a business chart, I'll always look at Saturn and Jupiter, what is playing out for that, because it gives a theme. It also gives a theme for that coming year. As it moves out of sort of dreamy kind of Piscean energy that it's been in, Jupiter is also a ruler of Pisces. Not many people realize that. And so it's been a comfortable placement this last sort of, oh God, over 12 months now. And as it moves into Aries, it's going to be, you're going to see a lot more innovation energy. Aries is fast, it's quick, it's fire, it's creative. So anything that you've had or maybe thought about these last couple of years that you've kind of felt inspired to do, and you think, I don't know, I've always wanted to do it, but I'm afraid, I haven't got the money, I haven't got the finances, you're going to have the opportunity to do it. The minute Jupiter moves into Aries, it's new beginnings. It's a time for quick fire, creative energy. Let's put what you started in that motion, or what you were thinking about, what you were dreaming about, what you've always wanted to do. You now have that energy of moving it into Aries, which is, let's stop talking about it. Let's stop thinking about it. Let's start doing it. Fantastic.
Thank you for clarifying that.
So again, these are now when we look at planetary retrogrades. Everybody always panics when a planet goes into retrograde. There's nothing to panic. It's just a case of everything is slowing down. Retrogrades are a perfect time to refocus, to reset, to look at things that you might have put aside. It's also then that little bit of a kick to kind of, okay, let's finish it. The one that we kind of look at the most, because the outer planets like Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, they'll always go into retrograde, and they tend to go into retrograde usually around the summer times. So if you look at kind of Pluto is going in on beginning of May, Neptune is in June, Uranus is in August, you usually have that big chunk of a period of time where these planets will go in, and they'll stay there till about October, November, December. So it's a huge chunk of the second half of the year, if you think about it. So I always say, if you're going to do anything, do it before planet goes into retrograde. But it's not the end of the world if it's in retrograde. But if you can sort of make these changes, or anything to do with business, finance, relationships, or anything like that, always tend to do them before they go into retrograde. Venus, she's the planet of our passion, our love, what we love to do in our life. She goes into retrograde in 22nd of July in the sign of Leo. Leo is that fun, loving, creative sign. That's warmth, that's energy, it's that childlike fun. So if we look at kind of the first half of the year, it is always a case of, oh, okay, we're moving into a new year. Some people can become full of energy, vibrant. I want to kind of get fit. I want to do all these things. And then by mid-February, everything then falls by the wayside. That inspiration of January, I've got to be, get on my diet. Everything tends to by mid-February stop. So Leo energy, again, is all about that vibrancy. So Venus is that passion. Where do you want to do something that is creative? Where do you want to be towards the next half of the year? Do you even need to look towards the next half of the year? I just thought it was important to put these planetary retrogrades in so people can kind of have a look at them. And as I said, it's not something that you need to worry about, but it is to be mindful. If you've got anything major or any kind of big life-changing experiences that are happening, sort of weddings and house moves and things like that, if you can do them before the retrograde is always kind of a good sign. Okay, so if we move on to then, these are the ones that everybody worries about, the Mercury retrograde. This is where everything, oh, let's blame it on Mercury. Poor Mercury. Mercury is the planet of our mind, our thought process, how we take in information and how we share that information. It's that messenger god that wants to kind of take one piece of information and share it with another. Mercury now is going to be in these fire signs, and this is important. When we look at Mercury retrogrades and we principally look at where Mercury is going to be every year, especially the retrogrades, it's always important to see what signs they're going to be in and what elements they're going to be in. Now, Mercury is going to be in the elements of fire. So this is fast. This is quick thinking energy. So as it moves into Aries on the 22nd of April and it goes retrograde, where in your life are you looking at, okay, where have you started something and now you feel that you maybe need to divert or maybe need to change direction? This is the perfect time to do it. When it moves into Leo, again, it's that summer energy where a lot of kind of energy towards end of August is prepping it for that September, that fall energy. Let's kind of, summer is over, that kind of thing. So it's a case of kind of, where can I do something? Like, it was August that I decided to go to university. You might find that there's something that'll come up for you in the summer that you had no idea was coming up for you. So it's about going with those plans. And then we end the year then with it in Sagittarius, which again is that spiritual seeker, it's that truth seeker, that higher learning. Where are you searching as you end the year? Where, and look back to the year. Is there anything that you feel that you wanted to do, but you never did it? Now would be the time to make that leap and pretty much go for it. Yeah, but everyone's always afraid of Mercury retrogrades. And we're just coming out of one now.
Right. Today, actually, right?
Yeah.
It's direct today. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's in Sagittarius. So if you look back, anything that you've been in, it's currently in Sagittarius.
Okay.
So look what's been happening for the last couple of weeks.
And I had wondered if that's why today's podcast did come together for today, because it was coming out of the retrograde. So Debbie, quick question. I know retrogrades for Mercury, I believe they can last different amounts of time.
Yes.
So, and as you said, it's just that time to reflect, go within. It's not something to be frightened of. It's just what is. It's just to be aware of it. So for instance, when the next Mercury retrograde starts on the 22nd of April, how long will it last? And same thing when it goes into Leo, 24th of August. Like, is that important to know?
They usually last between 4 or 5 weeks. And it depends,
okay, perfect.
Yeah, and it depends on kind of like the size of the constellation. So Aries is, what's Aries? Aries
just knowing that rule of thumb, that's very helpful.
Aries is a constellation of 21 degrees. So it could be 3 weeks, 4 weeks, that kind of thing. And there's always the shadow period 2 weeks before and then 2 weeks after. So I always say to people, if you're going to do something, just wait a couple of weeks after it. But there is no set rule. There's so much fear around it, and I think fear attracts fear. But if you just trust that it's everything is working for you, then just go with it.
I use it when I start to notice Mercury being in retrograde. I don't pay attention to it, and all of a sudden I'll notice things going wrong, phone and computer blowing up, and then I'll look it up. Oh, Mercury's in retrograde. So for me, it's just a time to slow down.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I always say to people, just watch your communication. What are you sharing? Sort of whether that's in text, whether that's in email, whether that's speaking live, whatever you're doing, just kind of, it can be sometimes misinterpreted. And I always say, okay, back up your internet or your laptops or anything to do with technology, because it's how we share our message. And this is why it usually affects, and it can also affect travel as well. There could be delays in travel and experiences and things like that. So yeah. Okay, so then we move on to these eclipses. And this is the difference thing with I've personally noticed when working with true-sidereal, is that when we look at a solar eclipse, that is when the moon's nodes are near the sun. And what we always find is that a node could be, and that's what we call it, the north node. So at the moment, the north node is in Aries. But what we will find is that it might be a case of the node would be in a different sign to where a new moon is. But there has to be a small amount of a degree for it to be classed as a solar eclipse or a lunar eclipse. So in April, we're going to see the solar eclipse going into, so the node will be in Virgo, but let me just double check. I wrote that down. I have to check my node. Yes, sorry. So the nodes will be in Aries, but the new moon will be in Pisces. So even though it's a different sign, and people say, well, how can it be that if it's in a different sign? We have to look at the degrees between each sign. And if that makes sense. So for instance, Pisces, the moon will be in, the moon and the sun will be in 40 degrees Pisces. That's right at the end of the Pisces constellation. But the nodes will be in 2 degrees Aries. So there's that little bit of kind of, and Pisces is about 40, hold on to that. I have so much written down because I can't keep everything in my brain. Yeah. Pisces is a constellation size of 42 degrees. So with this new moon in Pisces, it's going to be right at the end of this constellation as it starts to make its way into the sign of Aries, but the nodes will be in Aries, so it's still classed as a solar eclipse. Solar eclipses are all about new beginnings. Just as a new moon, it's all about new transitions, new ways of working. It could be a new job, a new relationships. They usually happen and last between 6 months. So that energy of that solar energy will last about 6 months. Solar eclipses are so powerful in that if you are looking at something that you want to do and you feel this energy of doing it and a new beginning, then it's going to be amplified by that solar eclipse. And because it's in Pisces, again, it's all about creativity. It's our intuition. It's our psychic self. So you might find that you might do something that is kind of going to take you spiritually. It's going to take you on that spiritual retreat or somewhere that, or even a spiritual awakening. A lot of spiritual awakenings happen around a solar eclipse. And then we get the next one then in October, and that will be in Virgo. And again, the sun and the moon will be in the constellation of Virgo. Virgo is the sign of routine. It's the sign of health. So you might find come October that you have an energy or a new inspiration to get more healthy, start a new workout regime, start a new diet, put systems in place, more organization. Virgo loves systems. It loves putting those systems in analytical places. I have a lot of Virgo energy, so I like to put things in certain places because it's a physical need for me. It helps me physically be aligned with who I am. And then the next slide then will show the lunar eclipses. Same thing as the solar. Lunars are all about, and they always happen on a full moon. And again, it could be that energy of letting go of things that are no longer working for you. But if you're letting go of something, you're then making room for something new. So people always confuse a full moon is that it's a case of I have to let go of everything. But it could be a case of something new coming in for you as well. Because you've allowed that energy and released it, it could be a way of, okay, I'm making way for something new to present myself. So don't always kind of think that a full moon is about letting go. It's about making peace with what have happened the last 4 weeks, forgiveness, gratitude, and making way for something new to come in. And these eclipses we're going to see in Libra and Aries. This might be, when we look at Libra, Libra is all about relationships. It's all about balance, harmony, partnerships. You might find that come May, that you are in a relationship that is no longer working for you. It might be a time to part ways. But if you trust that every person and every relationship that comes into your life is for a lesson, and for you to really trust in that, and as much as you might not like that person or be grateful, but that person, that lesson has given you, because they are a messenger. Each person that comes into your life is a messenger, and they've set in stage that contract that they promised in their lifetime to play their part. So there could be this case of Libra energy that you change jobs. Partnerships are no longer working for you. And then towards the end of October, we have the Aries energy. Again, it's things about, because Aries is all about new beginnings and new things of doing, but also, and Aries is passion, it's fire. It's that strong will of to do something. I have to do it. I have to succeed. It could be looking at, okay, it's time for me to let go of patterns in my life that are no longer working. Patterns that are, you know, do I need to be aggressive about a certain situation? No, actually, I don't. It's about trusting that Aries energy is fire. What can I let go of that I can make way for something new to come into my life? Is this making sense?
Absolutely. This is great.
And then what have we got? And this is just like a little bit of fun. I always kind of do these kind of things. Okay, I've got one in, I print it out every year and I kind of go, okay, what's happening? So like 2023 sabbatical is a time of slowing down, trusting, spending time in nature. If you haven't started meditation, might be a time to take up meditation, reflection, wisdom, focus, psychic development. It's also a good time to travel, spiritual awakenings. It's 2023 is the year of, like we say, the spiritual seeker, but it's also a year of however you make it, which is personal to you. And I think by starting and choosing a word at the beginning of the year is always a good time to kind of go, keep reminding yourself of how you felt and what you want to achieve this year. So for me, accomplish is one of my big words. So I'm going to see how many things I can tick off my box. And that is it.
Awesome. Just in time, because
Wonderful.
my computer's losing power, so it's giving me a warning. We only have like 5 minutes left, so
I was panicking that mine was going to go off.
Well, perfect. Well, we'll wrap up. Debbie, thank you so much for being here. And Debbie, how can people reach you?
They can reach me on my site, true-sidereal.com.
Perfect. So we'll include that link.
Yeah.
So, and some of the ways that Debbie's been able to help me, for example, is she helped me choose what day to put our home up for sale on the market, because that's a really important decision, or when to start a business, when you'd like to have a wedding, just so many important things. It really can help to look at what's the most beneficial, auspicious date. She helped me look at my business name. Should I be using my name, Wendy Rose Williams, or should I be using a business name? So there's just so many ways that an astrologer, a numerologist, someone who's so heart-centered, clearly she's got all the technical knowledge, but she's such a heart-centered person and practitioner. I highly recommend her. So thank you everyone for joining us. Please join us February 13th for the next Waking Up Spiritually. And again, join us in our Facebook group. Join Gregg and I there. Under Waking Up Spiritually, just look for that name, and join us at wakingupspiritually.com. Click on the broadcast tab, and there you can find all the different programs. And Gregg's just done a beautiful description of describing them. So you can kind of scroll through quickly and you can cherry pick which one would be the most useful to you. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel. And we so appreciate you rating and reviewing us on Apple iTunes or whatever your favorite podcast app is, because that just helps people find us. Gregg's website is Gregg, Gregg, Kirk.com. And his sessions are fabulous. He is able to offer short, to the point. I joke and call Gregg my spiritual emergency room. He's so much more than that. But if you just really need help and need it quickly, just getting that half-hour, 45-minute phone session can really change things for you. And I can be reached at wendyrosewilliams.com. And please request a complimentary 15-minute phone appointment with me. I'd so love to help you with your energy healing, specifically past life, but it does get into many other areas too. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Debbie. Bye-bye.
Bye.